Thanks for joining us today. My name's Jay McGowan. I'm the Director of Financial Planning here at Five Plan Partners. And today I just wanted to talk about some general financial planning tips that apply to everyone. A lot of times we get people that come in, whether it be young professionals or just people who are at a stage in their life where they don't need necessarily an elaborate, complex financial plan. They still come in and want to know, hey, what should I do to get on track and stay on track and prepare for the future? And really, these apply to everybody. Now, the details of these can be very specific to an individual or a family. However, these are good general principles that everybody can use. So the first tip is just to define your short and long-term personal and financial goals. You have to have a target. If you're trying to get somewhere, you got to know where you're going. So that would be the first thing. Sit down, write it down on paper. What are you trying to do in the short term and the long term? Short term being buy a house, send kids to college, go on a European vacation with the whole family. Long term being retirement, healthcare in retirement, those types of things. The second thing is to create a budget. Figure out how much you're spending now and how much you can spend in order to save the proper amount in order to reach those goals that you just defined. The next thing would be to build a cash emergency fund. There is a very small percentage of Americans who would be prepared for an emergency that cost them $2,000 out of pocket. So one of the first things to do before you start worrying about putting money in the markets or saving for big, long, and short-term goals is to build an emergency fund. Typically, the rule is 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses. 3 months if you have two sources of income, like both people in a marriage work and generate a similar level of income. 6 months if you're really dependent on one source of income. So one other good piece of advice is if you are offered a 401k or a 403b plan through your employer, always contribute enough to at least get the full employer match. That is basically they're giving you a free money. It's like getting a raise. Say your match is 3%. If you put in 3%, well, if you put in 3% of your money into a 401k, not only are you saving for the future, but you're getting a 3% raise basically in effect. You can't spend it today, but it's going into an account that you can spend later. From a total savings plan perspective, I typically tell people to try to target saving between 20 and 30% of their gross pre-tax income into a savings account of some sort. Now, that could be a cash savings account, that could be 401ks, that could be IRAs, Roth IRAs, taxable accounts, but in some capacity, try to target 20 to 30% of your gross income. Now, that's a tough number to get to, especially when you're first starting out, but that's kind of the goal. So every time you get a raise or bonus, just save a higher percentage than you're currently saving, and that number will gradually go up. A few strategies to look at when you're first getting started is a strategy to pay off debt, bad debt, good debt. Do you have student loans? Do you have credit cards? High interest debt that you need to start attacking? Come up with a strategy on how to take those things down while preparing for the future. A lot of times the interest rates on those types of loans and debt are so high that if you're not paying those off, you're actually going backwards even if you're saving. So you need an emergency fund, but a lot of times before you start going into the markets, it might be a good idea to pay off your debt. Another thing to think about, if you have children, the cost of college is going up anywhere from 4 to 6% a year compounding. So it's important to start early saving for those expenses if those are goals of yours. One other thing is preparation of estate documents, estate planning. A lot of times people hear the word estate planning and they think, well, I'm not at that point. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough assets to do a complex estate plan. Well, estate planning is for everyone. Everyone needs wills, powers of attorney, and medical directives. That goes for anybody regardless of your asset level. Wills, a lot of the importance of a will, especially if you have children, is to determine who would care for your children if something were to happen to you and your spouse, who would take care of the assets that fund their lifestyle, who would be the executor of the estate to make sure all those things happen. These are things to think about regardless of the level of assets that you have. Thinking about that, this kind of goes with the estate planning, but life and disability insurance. Do you have enough? If you don't, while you're young, it may be a good idea to go ahead and get those protections in place while they're more affordable. So coming up with a number, thinking about, and that the number that you need to protect yourself is really dependent upon your personal situation, and that's something that we can help you work through on what's the level of coverage that I need. You may be able to get enough through your employer. You may have to go outside to a private insurance carrier to get that, or maybe a combination of both. Another thing is just to monitor your credit score. Keep an eye on your accounts. In the day we live in, with cybersecurity, cyber threats, it's good to always keep an eye on your credit situation, not only because of your credit score and how that may impact things you're trying to do later in life, but also from a identity theft protection. Are people opening up accounts in my name? Are they running up bills in my name? What are those things? So there's some tips and tricks to, you can buy services that do that for you, or there's things you can do that you can monitor that on your own. So these are some very general tips on financial planning that relate really to everybody. So just like I end all these vlogs, if you have any questions about your personal situation, would like to create a custom personalized financial plan, please let me know. We'd love to talk with you, love to sit down with you and just brainstorm on what are you trying to achieve and what can you do to make sure that you reach your goals and get there. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just please let us know. Have a great day.